Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Club. I'm Graham.
And I'm George.
All right, George, we've been playing the Zenless Zone Zero beta for, 2-3 weeks now. We said we were going to do a follow-up. This is a follow-up to our previous thoughts. If you haven't checked them out, you should really go check them out. We're actually going to reference a bunch of things we talked about there to see how our opinions have changed a little bit in the context of the games imminently going to release, apparently. Without further ado, let's just jump into a little bit of stuff, what we've been feeling over the last couple weeks as we've kind of been playing through the game. How do you feel that you've been able to keep up with Honkai Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero as like two games that you're playing currently? Are you able to juggle the two? What's going on there?
Oh boy. Zenless Zone Zero is so much more of a time commitment than Star Rail, by a magnitude of like at least 10. We'll have to see how it turns out when the final game comes out and how many commissions you get and all that stuff. But as it stands, it's not been easy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed they have an event running right now. The event along with the dailies and doing some of the weeklies, which is like Hollow Zero stuff. Hollow Zero takes for fricking ever. I've noticed that I've struggled to keep up with doing both games. I have been keeping up with them, but it's been an effort I've had to really make. So I said this last time, but this is a game that asks for full-time game type of commitment and time, but does not deliver on that front end content. It's really feeling more like a side game in terms of content and engagement and stuff like that. So hasn't been great. I mean, Honkai Star Rail is the best and easiest game to keep up with that I've ever played in my life, and this feels much more like a Genshin scenario where it's a little bit more obnoxious to keep up with. We've had some gripes about the TV stuff, which we'll get into, about how long that stuff kind of takes, and it's not because we don't like the TVs, but it's because the TV stuff just takes a long time to get through. So, we'll kind of get into that. Before we get into our full thoughts, which are unfortunately going to be mostly negative, let's talk about some positive things we noticed over the last little bit. So I noticed that in Hollow Zero, there's a bunch of events, TV events, and there's different kind of things. There's one with a crumbling building that you can go in and get coins, but the further you go in, you take a bunch of damage. I had Nekomata on my team for one of these events, and I was able to go in and get a bunch of coins without taking any damage at all. It was like a special prompt that Nekomata had for herself. That's pretty fucking cool. I didn't even realize that was in the game. It really incentivizes and makes it easier to go through Hollow Zero when you have like specific characters in your group that can do that. In Hollow Zero, you can have like a full roster of characters, more than just 3. You can only play with the 3, but you can have like a full set of guys that you keep getting from the telephones. So that might open up like more options and whatnot. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing. I thought that was pretty smart of them.
Yeah, character unique stuff like that's super cool. The main positive thing that I can probably say is the characters, funnily enough, outside of the main story, but the characters have started to endear themselves to me through some dialogue options that you get. I said this a little bit last time, but the biggest thing that I like about interactions with the characters is the trust system. Some of your conversations actually have consequences now with characters, which is great. You do not have that in some of the other, specifically Star Rail. Like, most of your conversations, you can click whatever option, and it all leads to the same end result. Yeah. Whereas in this game, the trust system is fantastic. Being able to kind of see and gauge the personalities of characters fleshes them out a little bit more, and it's been fun to interact with them in that way.
Yeah, me being about a week or so ahead of you and playing just generally a lot more, I'm starting to see the cracks of that system.
Oh no! Why?
I know.
Why, Graham? Why must you deliver the bad news?
I know. I just hate everything about this.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. So you just start to have. So I don't know exactly how the system works because I don't know like the behind the numbers, but it seems like the first couple of like milestones that you reach. So like generally characters have like 4 major milestones, and then you have like a big kind of trust quest thing. It's not really that big, but you basically, so you have these conversations and you build like an XP meter of trust until you hit a milestone, then you have an event. Well, once you get to like event 3 and 4, it starts taking longer to build up that trust meter. And I've been having the same conversations with Soldier 11 for the past week about the spicy noodles. Yes, they start repeating.
So I know that's bad.
I know all the dialogue options that I'm going to pick, and I've told her that she should get hellishly spicy noodles for the last week now, every single night that I see her, which is great. I love Soldier 11's one of my favorite characters from a personality perspective. She's so fun, But I mean,
Yeah.
why do I
She's
have
a military
to tell?
nerd.
Yeah, she's a military nerd. She's a total dork. Why do I have to tell Billy that he's absolutely going to get the thing that he's waiting in line for, and he doesn't have to worry about it? I
Yeah.
have to tell him like this all the time. It's not. I hope they really like change that system.
Yeah, I
because
think
it's
they could
really
add
silly.
more options to it and continue to flesh out. Like, I don't want this to be like an indefinite thing either. I want there to be like at certain point you reach the trust, a full trust with that character, and then you move on to the next character. And because characters are always coming, like, I think that'll be good enough for someone like me, my tastes at least. But yeah, if they just like continually keep increasing trust while not changing the conversations, that's bad. I do not want to see that.
Or just lower the milestone. Like, once you have a conversation with them one time, just make us progress through the milestone. Stop making a freaking person-to-person interaction system with your characters a grind. We don't
True,
need everything to be a freaking grind. Please,
Yes.
Hoyoverse. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's maybe if I'd been playing for a little bit longer, this wouldn't been as positive. But at least for me, I'm enjoying that because there's some weight to the conversations. But
Hey,
sounds like that
at least
enjoyment is fleeting.
At least it started as a positive note, okay?
Yeah,
At least you had that.
All right.
I also noticed during playing, I put Rena on my team. She's a ranged character, and I haven't really been playing with any ranged characters. I noticed the assist system will pick a character on your team, not necessarily in order, but based on what you need as an assist. So if I have like Nekomata, Ellen, and Rena, and I'm on Nekomata, it will actually skip all the way to Rena when I do an assist based on a range attack, which I thought was really cool. It's a smart system. It makes the assist system even better than I thought it already was. So I think that's great.
That is cool.
Again, most of the things we love about this game relate to the combat. And it's just like, okay, you know, that's just one more point to put on the combat scale.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is.
That is a cool system for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the good points about the combat system don't actually last forever, though, because while I was doing the recent event, it put me in a combat encounter where it wanted me to do chain attacks. And unfortunately, I killed the enemy, so you need to build up the days meter to break them, and then you get the chain attack, the QTEs going. Now, unfortunately, I kill all the guys in the room in like literally 2 hits, and I wasn't able to build up the days meter. Now, there's another system where they have kill protections, where if a certain move doesn't have a kill, or the heavy, I think it's the heavy quality, has the kill power into it. So you can have an enemy at 1 health, and you could hit them like 100 times, and they will not die unless you kill them hit them with the right move. It makes fighting lower level enemies feel freaking awful and slow. Like you'll like assume that one guy's dead, and you'll run to the next guy, but that other guy will still be alive. So I tried to actually use this total garbage system, by the way. Feels terrible. I tried to use this system to kind of cheese it so I wouldn't kill a guy, but I could build up the days meter. I thought I had cracked the code. I was like, well, I'll just use this stupid system with this chain attack. But then when I went to go break them, once the days meter was full, and I went to go break them for the chain attack, the game forced me to fight another, like it literally, like I was standing in front of the guy, and it forced me to attack someone 180 behind me who was at full health, because the game decided that he was low enough that I wouldn't want to attack him anymore, and then made me attack the other guy. So I couldn't even abuse the system that allows for more QTEs to do this freaking chain attack event. It was absolutely aggravating. I hate this freaking system. We'll probably put in some examples of me just going again and again and again trying to kill a guy with this stupid system. It feels terrible. The worst part about it is I was totally right in thinking that this system is unfun, because I actually had, by sheer coincidence, I had a run where I killed everything in the arena super freaking fast, because everything in the event's like super low level, and I'm on like high level built out characters. And I killed everything super freaking fast, and it felt amazing. I felt amazing. I killed everything so quick, everything died instantaneously. I was like, oh dang, why can't it be like that all the time? It actually feels fun to kill things at like super freaking high speed. But why do they prevent me from doing that all the time? I should be able to just do that. Like, it's just, I don't know if it's unintended consequence of how they have the QTE system and how they want to push more of that, or if that's just like how they want to protect players from burning through like low-level content too quickly. But it just seems obnoxious, and I just hope they freaking at least give us a toggle to turn it off. It's just such garbage.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the targeting stuff, which we'll probably get into later. But that I didn't start noticing that until you pointed it out to me, and I was feeling this friction when fighting. I'm like, what is happening? What is going on? And it sounds so absurd that like an enemy with 1 HP, you can hit them with an attack and they won't die. Like my mind didn't connect the dots. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, it's not like I was even paying attention. It was just more like I didn't see that as a possibility until you pointed it out to me, and I was like, what? That's what I've been experiencing. That's why I felt so like janky and like weird sometimes killing enemies, and that's why I felt with so much friction. I was like, oh dude. So yeah, it's a dumb system. It does not need to be there. They should just get rid of that completely.
Yeah, it only gets worse over time, and as you said, it's so subtle that I think a lot of the player base is going to come up against this, and they're not even going to realize, and they're going to kind of bounce off of the combat, especially as they keep going, or they'll just not have fun with low-level events, and people won't really understand why. It's so subtle, but it feels fucking terrible, because the combat already feels so liquid right now when you have these constant, they're like speed bumps to fun, man. It's just like you have this awesome fun combat, and they're constantly fucking stopping you from killing stuff and having fun. It's just like, stop. Get out of my way, Hoyo. Let me kill stuff. Let me have my own fun with the game. Stop trying to make me freaking do QTEs. And again, I know there's the manual QTE stuff. I'll have to do maybe some tests. Maybe that turns it off, but I don't think it does, to be totally honest. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know about that specifically. I tried the manual QTE stuff, and basically like certain moves will trigger the QTEs. It feels a little bit better, but when enemies are so low, like it just, I don't know. For me, it wasn't like that much of a difference between auto and manual. I would need to do much more extensive testing to like have a final opinion on it. But from what I did, it doesn't feel as different, because you end up like just using your EX special so much already, and like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's that distinctive. I think it would be better with higher level enemies than the small fodder, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is when you have certain abilities that you have to click and hold, like Ellen has a click and hold thing where she like spins her blade and you have to click and hold it to make it go longer as her third hit in the combo. If you have the manual thing on, you're going to start activating your QTE when you click and hold that. Anton has another thing where you click and hold his attack, and you start activating the QTE all over the place, especially when you don't want to activate the QTE. When you break an enemy, the first attack that you want to do is your ultimate, because when your ultimate is running, so like let's say you break an enemy, you do the QTE, so their break bar is now gray, and so it's draining, right, until they're not broken anymore. Now you had bonus damage all QTE. It was awesome. You're so happy. And now you have your ultimate too. But when you go and use your ult, when the bar is gray and draining, it still drains during the animation. Like the cutscene that plays. I'm not talking about the animation of the attack itself. I'm talking about the cutscene. It's still draining in the cutscene. So you have characters with a slightly longer cutscene. Oh, well, you might run out of the bar and not get bonus damage to your ult. Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to break the guys and then use your ult, and then that will trigger the QTE, and that actually builds your ult back up, and you didn't waste any time with your break bar. You can now use your like skills and stuff in the break bar. This is going to be like meta stuff that people discover. I'm just telling you how it's going to be in the future. Everyone's going to want to play the game like this. So you heard it here first at TGC. I've actually talked about this on stream like weeks ago when I first started playing. But anyways, that's how the game's going to kind of roll. But it goes against this like holding activates the QTEs, but I'm trying to hold to activate this thing, and maybe this will be like something in the future that's dealt with, because we'll know the attacks better. But the trigger for clicking on like using a heavy attack and holding it in order to trigger a QTE when doing it manually is like 0.5 seconds. It's like, oh, you held it for 0.5 seconds? It's freaking QTE time. Let's go. And then it's like, oh, were you clicking your auto attack? And then let's say it's like a 1-2 click, right? But you're just like click, 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 click. Sometimes you happen to click down at the moment where the last attack with the heavy property is happening, and you click because you're just clicking, and it thinks you're holding it, but you're not holding it. You're just trying to go through it. You don't want to activate it, so you're just trying to like click really fast. Sometimes it will activate. Sometimes it won't. It's like 0.1 seconds of holding will trigger this. Yeah. It's really obnoxious. I wish they would just give like some better way of activating QTEs and getting into this, because right now the system, I think, is generally flawed. Maybe that'll change as we get to know our characters and we know the kits and the frame data, and like people can like feel their characters out better. I hope that's the case. But right now, I feel like the system it's just not super friendly to deal with. It just doesn't seem reasonable to kind of deal with that system right now.
Yeah, and I when I started playing it, I was loving QTs. I was loving how frequently they triggered. It felt so cool. It felt so fast and everything. And then you start realizing, especially the more levels you go up and the faster you're able to kill like the smaller fodder enemy, how often you're interrupted from like what you're wanting to do by either a QTE or something else. We just talked about that you can't kill a 1 HP enemy unless you do it with a specific attack with a specific property. And it's just like the flow of combat is interrupted way too much, man, especially against the lower level enemies, and it just does not feel good. I love getting into the flow state of things. And to freaking Zenless, you describe their combat as liquid. Bro, when you're in the flow state of Zenless combat, it feels so good, but yeah, it's so hard to get there sometimes.
Yeah, they do. The weirdest thing is they do everything they can to stop you from having that. Unless you're fighting a freaking boss, then you're having the time of your life, man.
Yes,
it's the best. Fighting bosses is freaking amazing. So let's just hope for more boss content. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. We're still in combat a little bit. Before we get into more negative stuff, another positive that I have to say is we actually released recently a Ben combat video. The differences between characters and the cool mechanics that they're adding to some of them, like they gave Ben a perfect parry and the ability to kind of just show off your skill and plays, like we even titled the video Play Zenless like Sekiro, because it's that insane. You can just constantly be parrying stuff, like the Butcher with his like flurry of attacks. You can parry all of it basically. It's so good.
Not even basically, literally.
Like you can, literally. Yes, yeah, you're right. Literally. It feels so good. Like it's so fun. Playing Ben is amazing. I totally, thoroughly have enjoyed my time playing as Ben. So that's another positive. They're really thinking about some of their characters and what they want them to do, and they're making them distinct from other characters.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding design coming from both the character, like visual designs, and their kit designs. Not every character is like a massive winner. I mean, if you've ever played Overwatch, you've got like Soldier 76, right? He's like very run-of-the-mill standardized character. And then you look at someone like Ambi. Ambi's that kind of character, right? Her kit is not some kind of magical, cool, interesting kit. And that's totally fine. Sometimes you just want a really kind of generic action character to play. And they've got Ambi on the team for that. But they've got a bunch of other characters that have these great ways. Hey, you like parrying? You like doing that? Okay, eat your heart out, Hayashi. You can go ahead and play that. Do you like a character that plays like a shark? Okay, no problem. You can go ahead and do that. Play like a shark. There's all of these like great things, and I just can't wait to see all of the different things that they're going to do with characters, because if there's one thing I really like from Honkai Star Rail, I really like seeing the different kind of augments to the system that they do when they bring in characters. And so I feel like Zenless Zone Zero is going to be even better than that, because I love action games even more than I like freaking turn-based RPGs. So, I mean, this is going to be amazing. I can't freaking wait to see what they do. I really, really I so hope that they remove all of these little roadblocks and these stumbling things. I hope in 3 to 6 months we're going to be having a totally different conversation about the game, of how they fixed everything, or everything was fine by release, whatever it is. I just really want to love this game so much, and there's so many things I do like about it, despite the fact that we're probably about to talk about some, like, not so great things.
Yes, yeah. We're going to probably get into it, and do you want to get into it now? Because I'm good to...
it's time, man. It's freaking time. All right, so we're just going to go rapid fire through all of the topics that we talked about in our first video, which hopefully you checked out if you've made it this far. Some of the topics we'll talk less than 10 seconds. Some we'll talk a little bit more, but we're just going to go through. So this is basically us evaluating, is the game ready for release and is polish enough? Because if the game is about to imminently come out, the only thing they have left to do right now is polish. And some of our gripes could theoretically be polished. Now, some of our gripes may actually just be fundamentally how they want the game to be, and no amount of polish will ever change it, because they're just not going to change it. Or some of our gripes are just fundamental with the system, and no amount of polish is going to be enough quick enough. So, the first topic is animations. Do you think they're going to polish up some of those animations, the cutscenes specifically at the end?
Can they? I think they can. Will they? I think they won't. The amount of improvement that came between the first beta to this one was not a lot, unfortunately. And it's possible, you know, I could be wrong, that they'll manage to up the ante in these next few months, and they manage to do it. I don't think they will, but they certainly could. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not really sure either. I don't know if these are kind of slightly placeholder cutscenes and stuff like that. And they're going to kind of add, especially with the newer ones, they're going to add like better, you know, better animation and stuff like that. Specifically, well, you'll have to see our full thoughts. If you watch the first video, you know kind of what we're talking about. But I'm really on the fence. I'm not sure what they'll do. I guess we'll just have to find out. But it wouldn't be, at least it wouldn't be a deal breaker.
It wouldn't be a deal breaker. It would be a great boon to the story. I think the cartoonish nature of some of this stuff really detracts from the sentiment that they're trying to portray, at least through the words and musical buildup and all the other hints that they're putting forth. I think the cartoonish animation is not takes away from that. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least the story sucks so that we could just skip it and not have to worry about any of it.
At least there's a skip button. We said that last time, and I'm so glad now, dude. I'm so happy.
Yeah, freaking seriously. All right, character designs. There's really nothing that needs to be said here. We just talked about character designs. It's absolutely awesome. It's going to be more awesome in the future. We've already seen NPCs in the hub areas that are like, oh, okay, that we could have these kind of characters like elves, and we could have like other like demon characters or other android characters. Like, there's so many good ideas going here. It looks like sky's the limit, and so I welcome all of the cool ideas that they have will have going forward.
Yeah, and we've already talked about the censorship stuff. No need to rehash it, but there's nothing we can do about that, and so just enjoy what we got, basically.
That's right. Yeah, enjoy what you get, and it won't be femboys. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Oh man, Graham's upset.
All right. Next thing is the hub area. Do you think that we will be getting major improvements or overhauls to the hub area, or do you think we're kind of gonna get how they are and nothing will ever measure up to the first hub area?
They really need to improve the other two, especially Ballet Twins. I was surprised at how empty it is. Like, I saw you play it, and I'm there now, and just, it's another thing seeing it on a video, and it's one thing walking around and being like, it's the John Travolta meme of like, just what's here, what's happening
going on?
Yeah. I predict this will be out no later than Q2 2024.
I predict no later than February.
Yeah, like, I don't want to be too ambitious and call February, but I would not be shocked if it came out even in January, to be honest, based on all the hints that we're getting. Yeah, I don't know.
George, here's what I'm thinking. The first hub area has a bunch of shops. One of the things that makes that area so good is it has a bunch of systems, right? It's got like the general shop, and it's got like the relics and stuff like that, and they've populated that area with these shops. If you don't have shops, especially in the third area, the second area, the construction site, you could maybe get away with just leaving it kind of as it is, because it's a construction site and it's really bland and boring. Yeah. Okay, sure. Let's pretend that's going to be what it is. But the third area is clearly like supposed to be a place. It's kind of run down, yeah, but like, isn't there supposed to be something there? But what systems and shops do you put in there to justify being able to spruce up the place? And if you did put in like shops and made it look more lively, I mean, and you don't have systems to populate those stores, they just become empty set dressing. Like, it looks nice, but there's really nothing to do there, so you don't have a reason to go there other than like, oh, I had some main story stuff here, and now I just frick off and I just sit in the hub area of New Eridu now.
Yeah, they could always just redo this, like have shops that have the same systems in there as well. So like, there's a new place where you can continue to get relics. On paper, to me, that sounds kind of, I don't know if tacky is the right word, but it sounds like pointless in a way. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's actually cool. Maybe the character you interact with is cool. I would hate for them to divvy up the, like, oh, you can only get certain relics from here and then certain relics from this place, because the fast travel isn't as, I don't know. I like the way that they have it right now, where it's just all centralized in one place. I don't like having to go to different freaking relic domains and all this stuff to get different stuff. So
yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I really, really hope they do something because I do really genuinely like the first kind of starter area. So I guess we'll just have to see if is polish enough time. I don't know. It seems like they got to make a lot of stuff to make those areas more good. So I don't know. More good. But I don't know. So I don't know if polish is going to be enough. So, well, I guess the jury's out on that one. We'll have to see. All right. Next up, we've got the arcade. The arcade's really fun. They just need more games. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. I did notice that the snake event stuff, so I got all of the events maxed out with like the tickets and bought out the shops for the arcade events. The snake one took like 10 times longer than the dog one. The dog one event was like, I sat down for an hour and I cleared out the shop, and the snake one was like, I was there for like 2-3 hours. You know, I had to take breaks and come back because I was just getting too bored with doing the snake stuff over and over. But generally, it's like pretty fine. We just need more games. Put Star Rail in there as a game. That'd be amazing. So
yeah, and I'm really forgiving of the arcade as a whole because it's really seen as like side content too. So I'm generally, you know, forgiving of stuff like that. But yeah, more games will be cool. But no complaints on the arcade for me.
Energy and stamina. Okay, this is a big one. Do we think? So the question is there enough polish to take out like? This is really hard, right? Because fundamentally, they're doing a system where the commissions and the main story take stamina, right? Like polish, can you polish that out and just remove the system? Or is this a core fundamental flaw with how the game generally works? Because I think it's a terrible freaking system. Obviously, they agreed because Genshin and Star Rail do not have stamina-based main story or side quests. So like, what is the deal here? Why are they doing it this particular way, and are they going to steer away by the time the game releases? And I'm thinking no, but maybe you have a different thought on that.
Well, ideally, I think they should steer away from that. Ideally, stamina should be only progression-based stuff, and all the story and everything else should be require no stamina whatsoever. However, I do theoretically foresee a solution or a situation in which the amount of quests that you get and what's required to level up your characters is balanced in such a way in which it doesn't become detrimental. It'll never become my preference and it'll never become ideal, but it won't be make or break. Now, the problem is it's such a fine tightrope to walk because if we get new characters, new updates, all this stuff, the problem just continues to repeat. So is it possible? Like, I think so, but I think they should just get rid of it, personally.
Right. I mean, like, in Honkai Star Rail, I get a character, and I need to spend weeks, sometimes months of stamina to get this character up to par, because they're already waiting behind a waiting list of characters that I have that I want to get freaking built up, and it just takes forever. Like, the excitement of getting a character in Honkai Star Rail is completely tempered by the fact that I can't do anything with them. I still can't do anything with Ho-Ho. I have Ho-Ho, and I can't even freaking use her. And there's probably other characters on my roster that I've gotten, and I still can't use yet because they're just not properly built, and they just will set. Topaz. My Topaz is still she's almost finished, but she's freaking not even fully ready yet. It's ridiculous. This is insane. And so now you're going to add in this like extra burden of stamina where you can't build characters because a new update came out. You can't even start grinding for their stuff yet because you got to do the story quests and the side commissions because it costs stamina. Oh my gosh, man, what are we doing here? Like, you better be handing out freaking batteries so we can recharge the stamina because this is just such a nasty system, man. It's not fun. It's anti-fun. I hope they remove it. I don't know. Same. Like, their whole economy on stamina right now is built around that it's going to cost you stuff to do that. So they're going to have to rework all of this stamina economy if they remove it from the main story and the side commissions. Are they going to have the time to do that? Is it going to work? I hope they do, but frick, I really am skeptical it's going to change at all.
Yeah, and like on top of that, there's an even more, in my mind, egregious thing that happens sometimes in which there are certain commissions that lock you out. Like, you can't exit the store because you're locked into that commission. Well, commissions cost stamina, and if you accidentally accepted that commission and you don't have enough stamina to proceed, you're soft locked out of the game. Like that's just how it is. It's so bad requiring stamina for it. Like it introduces so many issues that could be just done away with if they removed that system altogether. So yeah, we'll have to see. Like the character stuff, it's like front loaded with annoyance too, because at the beginning you're gonna get so many more characters that you're gonna have to have like level up way more because you don't have anything to begin with. Like future characters, you at least have like some experience stuff or something, right? So it's just gonna be I remove it, Hoyoverse, please.
Yeah. Please. Yeah, 100% what you said. It's insane. The main story stuff even locks you out of systems to begin with.
That shouldn't even
and
be
then
a
the fact,
thing. Yeah,
it shouldn't even be a thing, period. Then the fact that it double locks you behind if you run out of stamina, it's just like, frick off. Like, that's just so stupid.
Yeah.
But anyways, nonsense.
So dumb.
That brings up to mind the time of day stuff.
Yes.
I hope that gets removed. I hope at least it gets polished up to the fact that it becomes a non-factor. But basically, one of the things I've really run into, and I kind of mentioned this before, but you have 3 time slots. You have the morning, you have the afternoon, and you have like midnight. So certain characters and things can only happen at midnight, but when you start a day, you can sleep on the couch and you can move yourself to the afternoon, but you can't double sleep on the couch to bring yourself to midnight. That could easily be a polished thing it could change. However, in order to get yourself to midnight, you have to go to like the arcade and just like start an arcade game or play arcade games for like freaking 20 minutes, literally 20 minutes to get yourself to midnight. Or you can go and do like an activity. You can do Hollow Zero, doesn't cost stamina, that'll progress time. You can do VR, stuff like that. You have to like do things to progress the time. And that totally sucks, by the way. This is a complete negative that you have to do this. However, it gets freaking worse. I went in and did Hollow Zero because I wanted to wait until midnight, and I did a run of Hollow Zero, and I think I did 2 runs in a row. Well, after I finished Hollow Zero, I had the results screen, and before it took me back to the menu, just the menu for Hollow Zero after the results screen like it normally would, I got kicked out of the whole menu completely, and then it said a message, "You've been playing so much, you're so tired, it's time to sleep," and it forced me to sleep. I had no option whatsoever. I went from midnight to what I wanted to be at to the morning. That means I can't go back to midnight until I sleep on the couch one time, start playing arcade games, or go back into Hollow Zero. And then if I go into Hollow Zero, if I play for too long, I have a chance that the game will just do it again. Yeah. This system is fundamentally so freaking bad. They need to either remove it wholesale or they need to give us absolute freaking control over each segment of the time. Even then, it would still be an annoying, cumbersome system, but at least it would allow me to play the freaking game properly without having to do these stupid freaking, like, rigmarole of the time manipulation stuff. Just freaking stop it.
Yeah, and like certain things are only accessible at certain times of the day, and like if you're at midnight, you can't access any shops and all that stuff, and yeah, it's just, I think they should remove it altogether. I don't think they will, unfortunately. I think they'll kind of double down on this, and hopefully they'll do like with Genshin and give us a little clock that we can fast forward. Yeah, I think that's the most that we're gonna get. Although my preference would be removing it altogether. I do like the day and night cycle. I think that's cool, but just from like a meta perspective, but not a gameplay perspective.
Yeah, I don't even think we'll get that. I think it'll stay horrible. Maybe at best, I think they'll make it so we have to sleep on the couch in the afternoon to get to midnight, and that'll solve that at least. But I think that's the best we'll get. Yeah,
and then the shops will still be locked down, though. You won't be able to roll for relics or get a coffee or whatever at night. You know, it's...
Nope.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Well. You don't drink coffee at midnight. Come on, what's wrong with you, George? Anyways. Okay, the story stuff, we are not going to spend any time on the story. It's always going to be bad. It's always going to be overwritten. This is just a Hoyo staple at this point. Enough said. We have a skip button. That's all that matters. Hallelujah.
True.
You know, there we go. That's the story segment. Absolutely finished. Doesn't deserve more time.
That's right.
The gacha is still great. I hope they smooth out the animations. That's an easy polish thing. But the gacha generally is pretty good. They may polish it up a bit, and I expect that they will. But, the gacha is as good as it's ever been. We've said in the previous thing we like the gachas in Hoyo games, so if you want our full thoughts on that, go ahead and check out the video.
Yeah, there are some concerns that I've heard a lot between Bangbu and Wenjins and characters, like how they're going to do all that. But for now, I have full confidence that Hoyoverse will figure out some fair system to divvy all that up. But other than that, love the gacha. Yep.
Nice. UI. Do we think they're going to make massive overhauls to the UI? Because going through the UI and leveling up characters or items or like different stuff like that is so cumbersome right now. Do you think we're going to see any major changes by release?
There's way too much menu bloat, and I don't know, man. That's hard to say. I hope so. I want to say they won't, just because it's like it all feels so disconnected. I can't think of like an easy way to just undo it and connect it all. I don't think so. By release, I don't think so. I hope there's like some sort of like post-launch fix, but as it stands right now, it's just so bloated and cumbersome. I don't think there's an easy polish route that they can take here in the next 2-3 months.
Yeah, they'd have to add, I don't know exactly what they'd have to do, because I haven't really spent a lot of time looking at the UI and figuring out what exactly is wrong with it, because, I mean, Hoyo's not paying me anything, so I'm not going to do that. But, like, I think that there definitely needs to be work on the UI. I don't know how drastic it needs to be. Making it faster might help, but it's just like going and doing a certain thing and having to close like 7 layers of menu is absurd. And this just routing of the menuing is just kind of odd, and a lot of it looks a little bit messy. So yeah, I don't really know we'll see much either. I'm not really sure if they'll do anything on that.
Yeah, like intuitiveness is a sort of hidden quality that I can't like properly quantify. Like, oh, you need X points and Y and, you know, X points and Z to really make this intuitive. And the UI is not intuitive. I wish I was a better, smarter person and I could say, oh, this is what they need to do to fix it to make it intuitive, but it's not. And my gut tells me that this will be a bigger project than you just can tell by just looking at it.
Right, makes sense. The relics, artifacts, disk drives, whatever you want to call them, I feel like that system has been generally pretty good. I ended up getting to the final like phase of the relic stuff, and you can actually like guarantee a bunch of S rank stuff with the kind of yellow currency that they give you. I really like the system. The only thing that it's missing is loadouts. But even then, the build diversity doesn't honestly seem huge. So I don't even think, I mean, I don't do loadouts on my Honkai Star Rail characters. It would be nice to be able to share relics between characters with a loadout system. That would be a great benefit. But as for like different builds, I don't really care too much about that. Usually there's like one build that you kind of direct your character to be. We could use loadouts, but other than that, it seems like the system is pretty good, actually. It's probably the best system they've had for relics yet.
Yeah, it's the best one they have out of Genshin and Star Rail. It's the best system.
Yeah. Yeah, their next game will have loadouts, I'm sure.
Sure, there we go.
The music. George, you had nothing negative to say about the music when we first had our conversation. How do you feel about the music now, George?
Talk about a complete 180. Holy crap, dude. The music, okay, it's fine if you're watching a video or something. Like, I don't perceive it. Like, I've watched back some of our streams. I've watched other people's streams. Like, when people are talking, you're like interacting in chat, doing other stuff. You don't perceive it at all. When you are playing by yourself, there is nobody there, and it's only you and the game. And that music is on its 3-second repeat over and over and over, especially like the rap one. Everyone will know by the time the
and
game...
another day.
Yes.
And then another day after that.
With the cringiest lyrics and worst delivery that I've heard. I don't think it's anything on the artists themselves. I also think this is a direction thing, how they wanted the music to be. It is so bad, and it is grinding, dude. It's one thing if you're having to play this game for 20 minutes. We'll talk about the time investment. We already hinted at the time investment required by Star Rail. It's one thing if you have to play for 20 minutes and you just listen to this track for 20 minutes. It's another thing if you're going through Hollow Zero for like 2.5 hours and it's the same track the whole entire time and you're listening to a 5-second loop. Bro, it's enough to drive anyone crazy. If anyone tells me that they're a fan of the music of the game, like, I know that they're lying. Either they had earmuffs on or something, dude. I don't...
Listen,
what a 180, dude. I completely turned around on the music stuff.
I already have weird tastes on music and stuff. I have the weirdest music takes ever. So if someone could possibly disagree with me on this one and say that the music is good in this game, frickin' you're a wild individual. The music is so freaking bad. Specifically, this is in the hollow areas. Now, the music is so bad, I genuinely believe that it has to be freaking placeholder music.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a sample of the full song. It's got to be. Now, that's not going to fix some of the tracks that are genuinely just horrible tracks, but at least a full version of them might not be fucking as bad. So we'll have to see. I think this will get fixed, but whew, yeah, right now those loops are something to behold.
The only consolation that I have is that if it remains as is, the memes from the one day and another day track will be glorious. That's the only consolation that I have, dude, because it's
absolutely
one day and another day. And then the day after that, like, I'm not even joking. Like, that's how the song goes. It's
bad. Amazing. It's absolutely incredible. The lyrics are just next level stupid. So.
Oh man.
All right. So combat. We've already actually talked a lot about combat, so I don't even know if we'll talk too much more about it. We did talk about the system where, you know, the not being able to kill the enemies and how that kind of really puts a damper on fighting low-level stuff. So we're not going to get into all that. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, George, about the combat?
Yeah, it's a little bit more of like just kind of a couple things on that flow state. I really hate the laser traps that they have. They essentially create this AoE where you can't enter. And unless you have ranged characters, literally for like 5 seconds or however long the lasers are going, you just stop. You can't do anything. You just sit there because your enemies can't. The enemies are the way that a lot of these lasers work, especially the one that goes across the entire room, is it targets the player. Well, the player is going to be attacking the enemies, and so the laser will shoot where the enemies are, and you got to move out of the way, and then you just sit back there and wait for the laser to go through because you can't touch it. You'll get hit, and so you're just, you know, Looney Tunes style, tapping your foot, looking at your watch, and then the laser's gone, and then the combat resumes. That is
and
so annoying.
And it happens like every 10 seconds.
Yes.
Like it's constant. And for anyone who hasn't played the beta, there's two types of lasers. There's one laser that pops up and just goes beep and shoots out a really quick laser. That's the best trap in the game because you could just use that for free dodges. It feels fantastic. There's another laser like called I call it the stay laser, where it just shoots a beam for like 3 seconds, and you what George describing, you can't do freaking anything. It's the worst, and it happens constantly.
Yes, it's so annoying. Another combat thing that kind of messes with that flow state. You mentioned last time about how you hate playing as Billy because he always does this flip. Grace does the same thing. You're in the middle of your attack, and then you get thrown back away from the enemy through their moveset. I said incorrect. Well, I don't know if it's an incorrect thing.
It was
to say,
correct
but,
to you at the time.
Yes, yeah. Like I had assumed, oh, well, they didn't just arbitrarily give these characters some sort of throwback. Like that seems
Surely
like such
not.
a dumb thing to do. I'm okay with it because I'm sure there's going to be enemies or a strat that I'm going to be able to find that makes use of this well thought out, foreseen moveset. Well,
totally.
I was totally incorrect. There's nothing. There is nothing, dude. I tried. I like Billy as a character. I enjoy, you know, his quirkiness. I enjoy everything about Billy. I want him on my team. But as you're shooting with him, he does this weird thing where he flips back and totally undoes the positioning that you had created. And this is even more egregious with the targeting stuff that I'm going to talk about here in just a sec. But it moves you further back, and then you're like, oh, now I have to like stop, get up, and walk over to where I wanted to attack and start attacking again, only to have this cycle repeat here in like 3 seconds. Maybe there's a better gamer out there than me that found an actual strat to use this moveset with. Same with Grace. Maybe someone did, and I'm just a brain-dead gamer just going through the motions. Clearly. If you did, please let me know, because I'd love to incorporate it into my Billy gameplay, because there's nothing. I have found absolutely zero reasons why the game should move the positioning that you yourself, the player, made of the character. And it's even worse because there's no, at least I haven't found any way of accurately targeting an enemy. Now, when you're with melee, it's just whoever's closest to you. That's fine, you know, fair enough. Like, at least you know what it's going to be. But with ranged characters, there are wengens that literally make you do more damage the further you are away from an enemy. And so I am trying to position myself furthest away from the enemy that I want to target, but I can't target that enemy. So I'm like, okay, well, at least I'm shooting this character. I'll try and get away from them a little bit so that I can at least do extra damage to this character. Well, lo and behold, Billy will move and like a backflip some other way, and I'm targeting a completely different enemy. And I'm just like, dude, what? What is this? It's so bad. It doesn't work at all cohesively together. And just, it's another flow state stopper of combat in Zenless, and I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, when you're using like Grace, and the craziest thing of all is when you're using Grace and Billy, the monsters are going to be stunned by your basic attack. So your character actually keeps incrementally moving further and further away from the enemies. And if you hit a certain distance, your damage drops off by about 90% if you're too far away. So you're basically, your character is taking you further away from the stun lock enemy until you stop dealing damage. Then you have to like awkwardly walk back up to them, start attacking only for your character to move back again. I really liked Grace's kit and how she worked, but that in particular was a deal breaker for me. There's one character that does this, but it's not as bad, and that's Rena. Rena can actually move forward while she attacks. So she does have a thing that knocks her back a little bit in her just basic rotation, but you can counteract it by moving forward. So you move forward, she moves back, and you just kind of go back forward, and you stay more or less in place as you're hitting enemies. It feels really good. She's also literally freaking so fluid to play. Maybe one of the most fluid characters in the game. She feels incredible. And so it's like, okay, you know, at least there's that. So she's the only range character that I played that I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to build her when she's out. 100% I'll be playing this character for sure. Billy, absolutely freaking out. And Grace is like a maybe. We'll see. But like, yeah, it's just they've got more roadblocks for enjoying character kits. And it seems to be all about the, you know, all about the range characters. Like you said with Billy auto flipping back, why not just make it so he doesn't auto flip back and all the characters don't auto flip back? Why not make it so you can do that, but you have to pull back on the keyboard, like with hitting S, or on the stick on a controller. Just make it pull back and then you can start going back. You know, let me choose which way I want to go based on how I'm attacking. That's how it works for freaking the melee characters. Why do I have to put up with this on the range character? So 100% agree. And then the targeting, obviously.
Yeah, the craziest thing is that Billy, you can already kind of do that with Billy. You can kind of plant in place and then use, you know, Wassid to like move around. But the problem is that you're not always going to be sitting there. And so you're always going to be, you can do that only until after the freaking backflip that he does. Yes. Then you can kind of like plant down and like shoot and stuff like that. But you know, there's always characters moving at you. The combat is like you're up and about a whole lot. So it's just maybe this is a polish thing. Like maybe through that they can add some sort of targeting system, but that still wouldn't like fix Billy's kit. That still wouldn't fix Grace's kit. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, like at least in 2-3 months, I don't think this is something they could polish out in that amount of time. We'll see.
I'd love to be wrong. Yeah, I'd love to be wrong, but it's a fundamental issue with how their kits are executed. They need to have to like retune that completely and set it to be totally manual and take those other things out, basically. So I don't see it happening. I think they're here to stay. But I think they'll learn their lesson, and they'll have range characters in the future, and we'll just have to say rip in peace to the early range characters that had to deal with this nonsense. So
that sucks. That would be a terrible outcome, but I see that as a very real possibility.
Yeah. Why would you fix something that earlier characters have when you can release new shiny characters that don't have that issue, George, and put them in the gacha?
No, 100%.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, the TVs. Do we think that the TVs could be fundamentally fixed? Or really, what's wrong with the TVs? The thing that I think is most wrong with the TVs is the constant animations and the interruptions and the bit of the slowness. That actually, funnily enough, that whole system, the TV system, is something that people have a problem with in general. But I think that's the thing that could potentially most likely be fixed through polish.
I think through polish they could make them way shorter too. I think they take way too freaking long, not just like from the animations and loading and all that stuff, but like the actual going through them. There's way too many levels. Some of them are way too big. 45 minutes for a freaking commission in a holo is way too long. Like they're not engaging as they are because of the issues that you mentioned. Also the puzzles, like I did like some of the puzzles. Some of the puzzles are great, but when it's like the 6th level of the same puzzle, it becomes totally disengaging. Like I just had an experience a few days ago where I was failing at a puzzle because I was like 6 levels deep already, and I'd done the puzzle so many other times that I literally was just blank, dumb-faced, looking at my screen, just going through the motions until like I woke up. I was like, oh, I'm like failing at this puzzle. Like, oh, okay, because I totally disengaged. The puzzle was good for like 2 or 3 levels. For 6 levels of the same iteration of the same puzzle, nah, dude. You can't do that to me. I'm here to have fun, okay? Like that's my goal. I want this to be a side game. I think Hoyoverse's philosophy, at least if they want players to be within the Hoyoverse ecosystem, we've talked about this at length in some of our other videos, is their philosophy is they're trying to make side games. Well, with the Hollows as they are right now, this does not qualify as a side game. It does not fulfill at least the niche that I want for my gachas, which is to have them as side games that I invest 20-30 minutes a day at most, and then I bounce. So yeah, like the Hollows need to be way shorter. I think that the constant animation breaking and the zooming that like the field of view that you have, like it's way too zoomed in and you can't zoom out. You can zoom out, but it's not far enough. And the constant going up and down of levels, animation breaking, and the zoom all combined to make a very disorienting experience for me. Like the smaller Hollows, it's like whatever. But like some of those Hollows get big, man. And it's not like I can see like, oh, there's that bush that I just passed. I recognize that house. I recognize that tree. I recognize that door. It's like, no, I am like, which level am I now? Am I in level 3? Because I need to go back down to like level 5.
Having a map would really help.
Yes, having a map would help.
You know?
I don't know if it'd be enough because it sucks to be like, you know, constantly looking back at your map for something as like unengaging. Like, again, if maybe they fix other issues and they make it more engaging, then this isn't a point, right? But maybe a map, that alone wouldn't be the full fix. And so, yeah, it's like way disorienting to traverse to some of them. I found myself losing my bearings in some of those bigger Hollows. Maybe that's just like a me thing. I don't know. Did you ever find yourself getting lost?
A little bit. Yeah, I definitely had moments where I was getting lost. The new event has a massive hollow. It's freaking huge. And one of the things that I liked that they added in was that you could fast travel effectively by right-clicking on a spot, and you would like speed go there. You would even go over shops and not enter them. So if you wanted to go over a shop, you could just right-click on the other side and you'll just pass right over. There's even things in the game where like enemies are moving, and you can right-click on a spot and you'll fast travel, and that counts as one movement. So there's certain puzzles in the game you can actually fundamentally break by right-clicking. I don't know how that works on mobile because I haven't obviously played it on mobile, but the system is awesome. But it just occurred to me, I had this thought. So I've been trying to avoid combat encounters in Hollow Zero because Hollow Zero takes so long. The combat encounters are so easy, but the animation of like, you hit an animation, or you hit a TV, and then you go in, it like shakes and it goes in, then you hit a load screen, right? And then then it shows your character, it does like a camera pan, and then you're in. It's like, okay, finally. And then you go in, you kill the enemies in like 2 seconds, right? And then it's like a load screen, like it shows these slashed, right? And it's like the finishing thing. And then it shows like a load screen, and then you zoom back out, and then now you have control of your character. It's just so cumbersome. Imagine, I just had a thought. Imagine if you walked onto a combat encounter, it zoomed in, and you just immediately had control of your character. Like SSD level, hard drive, SSD, the hard drive, loading of just like you zoom in and boom, you're already playing your character. It took 2 seconds. You're playing, you go kill the guy, and the second the guy dies, it zooms right out, and boom, you're already going and doing the TVs. How freaking awesome would the TV system be if it worked like that? Yeah. That sounds freaking awesome. I would be so pumped about the TV system if everything was as snappy and quick as that. But the fact that it's all so cumbersome and slow makes me like just want to avoid all combat entirely because I know it's just going to be such a waste of time. I know that if I keep going into these combat encounters, I'm going to get to the end result screen of the Hollow Zero, and I'm going to see 45 minutes, I'm going to see 55 minutes, 60 minutes, and it's just going to be like, frick, man, I wasted so much time going through this stuff, doing the combat encounters, and that's just not the way it should be, man. It just shouldn't be designed like that.
Yeah, and this isn't even, like, I don't want to rehash all the other points, like, that we talked about, but, like, this isn't even including, like, there's scrolling text that you have to wait for. There's freaking shops that every time you pass through it without right-clicking, you have to, like, go into it and, like, wait for the text to go all through, and then you can finally exit, and it's just way too much, man. It's way too much. I do think, like you said, funnily enough, this is polished stuff that can be taken care of really easily. Can they take care of it in 2 to 3 months? I don't think so, but at least it can be fixed. At least this is, a boon. So
Yeah, seriously, I agree 100%. I really, really have a lot of hope for a lot of the systems they're doing here. I think the game has immense potential, an incredible, incredible combat system. The bosses are super fun. The character designs are great for the most part. So, George, the question is, do we think that Zenless Zone Zero is going to come out in the next, like, let's say, couple of months, and it's going to be hitting the ground running?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, I thought you were going to ask, is the game ready for release? But yeah, you basically ask that. I'm going to go on a limb and say no. I don't think the game is ready for release, and I don't think it will be. I think Hoyoverse has set high standards for themselves. And I think if they released Zenless in 2 or 3 months, it would not adhere to the previous standards that they, I'm assuming they set for themselves based on the evidence of their released games. This game needs a lot more to cook. I know I was kind of negative here, but it's because I like Zenless. It's all coming from a place of, I want this game to be healthy and do well. If you, especially for gacha games, if you're not able to capture a big audience, because it's basically a funnel. People will continually drop gachas. It's just the way it works. But the bigger the starting base and the more people you're able to retain at launch, the bigger your player base will be here 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I think as is, Zenless is going to be still successful, but it's going to be big for like first 2 weeks. Everyone's going to see all these like how long it takes and all these like friction points in the game, and we're going to have a massive drop off in the beginning. I don't want that for Zenless. I want Zenless to be good. I want it to be successful. I want to be able to play Zenless here for, however long I can play it for. I don't want to drop this like I dropped Genshin. Genshin became too cumbersome for me. Star Rail, I can see myself being with Star Rail for forever, basically. It takes like almost no time out of my day.
No time.
And
so easy.
yeah, like the events do get kind of long-winded and cumbersome, but they're permanent, thankfully, some of them. And sometimes I just won't do the events. Like, that's totally fine with me. I want this to be my side game, and I will play it as such. Whereas Zenless, it won't give me that option. I either fully commit, if it releases as it is, I either fully commit to Zenless and don't really have much time for anything else, or Zenless will have to go by the wayside. We'll have to see. Obviously, we're content creators, so I will force myself to keep up with Zenless, but that's just not what I want to do, right? Like, it's just...
Yes.
It's not the ideal situation.
Yeah, I share a lot of that sentiment. Obviously, we're going to be covering Zenless Zone Zero for this channel. We do really genuinely... I echoed George 100%. We really want this game to be good. We're not trashing on the game just to be controversial, to whatever. These are our genuine thoughts on the game. And because we generally want it to be good. I really wanted the story to be better. I really wanted... the TV stuff to see massive improvements since I saw in the tuning test, but we just didn't see the things that we wanted to see from tuning test to equalizing test, and so it doesn't give a lot of faith from going from equalizing test to the imminent release. I don't know if it was a mistake that they got it. Well, obviously it's not a mistake, but like it's unfortunate that they got the license to release this game in China, which seems like it's pushing up their timeline. Maybe this was always the plan, and maybe, because they apply for that license and they get it when they get it, right? And so maybe they were just like, okay, maybe they were planning on releasing it now, or maybe they got it surprisingly and they're like, okay, we got to push this out the door now. But I really do feel like a lot of people are going to drop off. A ton of people are going to try it. The game will guaranteed be successful. Guaranteed. Just like George is saying, no problem, no doubt about that. The question is, how long will it last in a high success tier, and will people continue to play it and enjoy it, or will this be something that people are going to wait and see in 3 to 6 months when they clean up some of this stuff, and then they go, oh, sorry guys, we got to freaking clean this up, and updates are coming, and quality of life here and there every patch to make the game, finally fun. So... I don't want that situation. I want to be able to play Zenless at release, be as hyped as I was when I was playing it in the tuning test, and just for everyone to have a good time, and we're freaking all hunky-dory about it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Skeptical.
And no game is immune to shutting down, not even a Hoyoverse game. I don't think that's extremely likely, but no game is 100% safe from that.
I don't know, man. If Honkai Impact 3rd is still going, and they're getting a 2.0 update that's going to overhaul a lot of their stuff, I don't think Zenless will ever go anywhere.
True. I hope it sticks around. But I don't think we can never be 100% set on anything. And
That's fair.
Yeah, I do want the best case scenario for Zenless, and we're just not there if it releases in 2-3 months. But
Agreed.
it's a chicken or the egg, like you said, right? What was it first? They got the license, and now they're forced to come out, or what? Who knows?
Yeah. I think it'll be a good game. It's just how low can you go?
Yeah, how good can it be at release?
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I don't know if you have any other additional thoughts you want to close off with.
No, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I got to say.
Okay, well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed our additional thoughts.
Our
Again,
overly negative additional thoughts.
Yeah, our overly negative, exactly. But again, it comes from a place of caring, of genuinely wanting Zenless success. We're both fans of Hoyoverse and their games. And if you agreed with any of the stuff that we said, at this point, I don't want to sound like a pessimist. I don't know how much change we can do, but give your feedback to Zenless team regardless. It doesn't hurt to get that out there. But with that, see you guys in the next one.
See you, everybody.